write tracks for Steve Swift reviews. He punched me twice in the face and asked for a duel. The pugilistic prophet with newbies diagnostics, like Scroobius Pip but less toxic. The UK comet shooting stars never lost it. It's 2025 and the internet still dies. Guys are chasing algorithms like a crack pipe high. Everybody based.
Well, I mean, it's been a minute, but we are in the middle of being in it. I see that Steve Swift is over there getting ready for the massive cold front that is taking over North America as we speak. Apparently, places like Texas, places like Louisiana, they're all getting hit with a mild dusting that represents that of a frosted donut, and they're losing their minds. But I understand why. If you're not equipped for it all year long, then why would you need the equipment for it? Anyways, we're not here to talk about all of that kind of stuff. We're here to talk boxing. And I don't know if you know this or not, but this is the Bees of Boxing with the man himself, Steve Swift. Steve, how are you doing this week, my brother?
The pugilistic prophet is very well, thank you. I feel good, rested, and ready to go. And vindicated as to Zuffa Boxing.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about. That's what we're going to talk about right out the gate is Zuffa Boxing finally showed up and did their thing. Overall, and we're going to break it down a little bit, but overall, what did you think of the product itself before getting into the fight? Because this is a big thing with us. So the business end of it, what did you think of it?
Well, we have to kind of pull back a bit, really, because, Dana White early on in the preparation to this was making those pronouncements, as in only 2 belts, the Zuffa belt, and the Ring Magazine belt. Yeah, not going to work with promoters, all of that. And he made some big pronouncements. And then towards when they were coming to the first episode, he made some, well, it's a work in progress. And I just thought, sounds like, you should make a beeping noise when you reverse that quickly. And I thought something's going on here. I didn't know whether it was going to be razzmatazz. And as we said before, bring out the guests, get Canelo out there next month, get Terence Crawford out there. But, or it was going to be, as per the advert for it, a boxing is a sporting contest, and it was more of the latter. And it was dowdy. I thought it was flat. Is what TalkSport called it. I think that's right. And I think it looked like a small hall show. It looked like the York Hall in Bethnal Green, which is well known as a small hall show. And I thought there was very little atmosphere. But then there weren't fans in there, is my understanding.
Here's what I thought. I agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, is Zuffa at this point, are they putting on a boxing event, or are they creating a TV show? Because I feel like they're creating a TV show that surrounds itself around boxing events. Which is really what the UFC does, right? With their MMA model. So I feel like now that you've kind of seen this, you're like, okay, I see what they're doing here. What I did like was the way that it was filmed. I liked the way that it was filmed and the way that the angles were, which kind of harkened back to me to the old PBC stuff, the old HBO stuff. You know what I mean? Where quite frankly, and this might come as a bit of a shock, not everything, Your Excellency, needs to be centered with a hard cam looking at you the entire fight. And this is what I think that we find nowadays with a lot of the Riyadh season stuff is everything is like, oh, look who's sitting in this front row. You didn't see that. You go back to the old days, and this is what you saw. Rick Reno was there at the event. I don't know if you got to see any of that. Rick Reno was at the event. His Excellency might have been sitting someplace else. I doubt it. I don't know. But Ring Magazine was represented, right? You saw a lot more people come in as the card filled up, obviously. being filmed at the Apex. If you know where this is and you know what they do there with the UFC fights and the MMA fights and the power slap and all of that kind of stuff, you know where it is. It's right next to the highway. Also, you got to remember that this event started right at like 6 o'clock Eastern time. That's 3 o'clock in Las Vegas. People are still working. No, nobody's even off work yet, let alone you got to go and, rush over to this debut event that they're doing for TV. So I get why everybody out the gate was like, ooh, I don't know about this. This is going to look a little rough here, right? But by the time that it was all said and done, by the time the end of the night came around, I thought that visually they've definitely got something that they can work with. There's no doubt about that. I thought that the fights themselves is a different story, and we'll get into that. Another thing that I liked about the production end of it, other than the fact that he may be a little bit long in the tooth now and older for this product, I don't know, but Max Kellerman back on a microphone is always endearing to me, but I don't want him to go the way of the Jim Lampley. I don't want him to be that guy. And there was points in this night where he kind of sounded like that guy.
Yes, I take your point about the filming of it. Yeah, it made it it focused on the boxing. So that's what we're doing here. But I'm still confused. Max Kellerman, yes, but he's really taken the Zuffa Boxing shilling, hasn't he? If you see the Ring Magazine program,
Well, here's the thing. Max Kellerman was always the, boxing for boxing. And he was always that guy that was like the white knight for boxing. And now all of a sudden he couldn't be more of a Zuffa shill if you paid him more shillings. Hey, see what I did there?
Yeah, that was lovely. That's lovely.
Is that why they're called shillings?
I think it might
shut
be.
the F up.
Yeah, I could go out and find out during this podcast, but I can't be bothered. So I thought it looked good. Yes, that fighting looked good. I still think, and I'm probably more down on it than you are, it sounds like, but I still think I don't quite know where they're going with this, because you had Jai Opataya. So, they cut to him, and because they cut to him in the crowd, they then had to show us a little bit of him in the ring. And when you did that, it looked like it was big time. So, it even looked a bit more golden, and the patina of the picture, and it made it look like, oh, this is a big fight. Now let's go back to a small fight. It made it like that. And then when he fights, which he will do in March, they've got an opponent. But I just think, and that'll be a unification of sorts, maybe, and we'll talk about that later, I guess. But I still think they don't quite know where they're going with this.
It's funny you say that, because I feel like seeing it now, and maybe this is something that, oh shit, duh, it kind of makes sense. If they're going to follow that same model that the UFC is doing right now, this works out perfectly, because the UFC does shows at the Apex Center. They do their fight nights. They do, COVID. They did everything at the Apex Center, pretty much, other than that island shit. Maybe this is what's going to happen here, is you're going to see these fights with a Callum Walsh, with a Jose Valenzuela. Well, you're going to see kind of these fights happening at the Apex, but then there's going to be like a bigger unification fight where you have a Jai Opataya, Christian and Billy, or whatever the case may be. And those fights we're doing at the bigger arenas. If they're talking what we hear rumors of that they're talking, and they're talking about Alexander Usyk, coming over to quote, quote, the dark side. Well, there's no way in hell you're going to be able to get that money back. I don't care if it's a Paramount deal. I don't care what kind of deal it is. You're not going to get that money back from an Apex. So you're going to have to put on the bigger fights as well. I think that's what we're seeing. I think that it was a smart move on their behalf to say, hey, this is the product. Hey, this is what we're doing. Hey, this is on Paramount. This is what it looks like here at the Apex. But I think that there are going to be bigger shows in bigger arenas, and those ones are going to look completely different as well.
Yes, I agree with you, because you have to work with promoters and you have to work with sanctioning bodies, and we're going to have a WBC. Who's he fighting? Is it Mulitalia? Yeah, WBC. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Well, so
it will
here's
be
here's the thing. You notice when he was asked about that, when they talked about Jayopataya and first, signing, if you go back and you listen to what Dana said, when he was asked about the belts and everything like that, he never once said, yes, he's going to be unifying those belts. Yet, no. They're going to be giving these fighters the opportunity to fight for what they've grown up wanting to fight for. Paraphrasing, of course, but that kind of gets the gist of it. So what they're going to do is they're going to make sure that what the biggest prize is that unified prize. And that unified prize is the Ring Magazine belt. And the Ring Magazine belt is kind of taken precedent right now as it is, as being, because you go look, oh, you could have the WBC, you could have the IBF, but the Ring Magazine belt is kind of a, okay, the best of those champions, which one deserves to hold this one? This is kind of the way they've been doing it for the last little while. So they've been setting themselves up to make it so this Ring Magazine belt is the elite belt. And that, I feel, is what Zuffa Boxing is going to be referring to when they're saying that their champions will be fighting for those types of prestigious belts.
So then, yes, interesting. So what do they then? Because the other way to do this is, yes, get Alexander Usyk, one-shot deal, and that's a separate matter, and that's separate to this monthly show, which I want to talk about more in a minute. But if you are doing that, are you saying, Jayopataya, we're not going to buy anybody else who's huge, or we'll buy some people who are, mid-level, but we're not going to buy anybody else who is enormous? That's what they bought. They bought his contract, haven't they? Bought him. So are they then saying, we'll bring people in and he can be a belt collector? Because he probably will win that WBC belt if Mauricio Sullivan, who recently described and compared the Zuffa Boxing to the XFL, whether he can be persuaded, or whether he says, go F yourself, because actually you've taken the piss out of me for quite some time. So if he allows and says, okay, then the WBC belt is then with Zuffa, really. I can't imagine that's going to fly. But if it did, would you then bring in all the different champions and say, okay, now Jai's got them all, and that people are going to come to us because we're paying a hefty fee to these sanctioning bodies to do it? Are they going to come to us, and then the rest of it is some kind of mid-league league?
Listen, first and foremost, okay, I love the XFL.
Yes,
All
me
right?
too.
Let's get that straight. And I'm
Me
not even
too.
talking about the latest reincarnation that The Rock had. I'm talking about the original one where they made up, names for the guys on the backs of their jerseys. And yes, absolutely. So Mauricio is a little out of touch, because the entertainment factor is why we watch the XFL. Okay. I get the analogy of what he's trying to say and whatnot, but shut up. Listen, you were put into a position to govern over that body, and quite frankly, somebody has found a way to circumvent it, because they have the means, they have the money, and they have the ability to do so. And I think that is the biggest thing that freaks out all of these guys with the WBC, WBA, WBO, IBF, LMNOP, any of these other ones, right? I think that is the problem, and they're seeing this because His Excellency came in, and His Excellency came in with all of this money. It was like, I've got all this money, and everybody was like, let me hold it while you shove it in there, Your Excellency. Like, everybody was kissing his ass. Everybody was doing everything they could to try to leech off of this guy and his money. Now they see this kind of fading away because there's a new suitor for His Excellency, and His Excellency is smitten with all of this permanent TV stuff, right? All of this capitalism stuff that he's going to get with teaming up and doing Zuffa Boxing with TKO, with with these guys, right? So you're seeing the old guard is like, but we just spent all this time kissing your ass for all of these years. I mean, doesn't that mean anything? Nope. Sure shit don't mean a damn thing, boys. Because at the end of the day, you do it, you governing bodies, you sanctioning bodies, I should say, are doing this so that you can get paid off of the backs of the fighters, just like anybody else. So come on. It's a nicer, prettier dress. The boobs are pushed up a little bit tighter. The ass is tighter. The legs are a little bit more, tighter right now. I mean, the old guard is, we all get old. We all get old. And sometimes, the young ones have to come in and take over.
Are you saying then
Yes,
that Dana White's boobs are higher than Mauricio Sullivan's boobs, and his ass is tighter than Mauricio? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I didn't say it outright, but now that you've put the pen to paper, I think that we can both agree that, yeah, that is exactly the case. Are we even going to deny that if we were to put Mauricio Sullivan and Dana White in a wet t-shirt contest, who would end up winning that thing?
Well, hang on, two things. I didn't put pen to paper at all. It's just a phrase. But listen, there's no wet t-shirt competition anywhere in the world that should happen in that way. I'm saying that right now. Mind you, I mean, you might get some pay-per-view buys for that.
Listen, I'm going to go to AI before this thing hits the airwaves, and I'm going to see if we can't create a video of the two of them in a wet t-shirt contest.
Don't do that. I'm warning you now. Don't do that. Let me pick up on something else, which is, I'm really interested in this because it sparked something off in my old synapses, which are still firing. I'm just asking you, I mean, whether or not this is calculated or not, or whether they just saw Jai Opetaia and went, big punch of me by. I don't know if they did that, or whether they thought, okay, Jai Opetaia, cruiserweight. Okay, cruiserweight's Cinderella weight class. So rather than going for a heavyweight and saying, okay, could you, Tyson Fury or someone, or I don't know, Jared Anderson or Fabio Wardley, come over here, I buy you, son. Rather than doing that, the cruiserweights are, well, you can move up to heavyweight in a bit, but if I bring everybody over and I say to Mauricio Sullivan, not let's have a wet t-shirt competition, definitely not. If I say to Mauricio Sullivan, could you see yourself clear? Here's a bag of money or something like that. Could you, and it's a good business deal, could you just see yourself clear to allowing us to do the Jai Opetaia fight? Because it's a cruiserweight belt, and really cruiserweight is not something that everyone's talking about. Is that it?
Could be. What about this? Who's the greatest active, legit cruiserweight in boxing right now?
Well, that would be David Benavidez, would it not?
No.
Who is it then? Go on.
Be Alexander Usyk.
Oh, yeah, well, yes, but yes, I understand what you're saying.
Now, add the latest talks to that. Could you imagine if we're passing a torch and everybody's talking about Usyk and Wilder, everybody's talking about Usyk and Fury, everybody's talking about this, but Dana, this shifty little son of a fox, is out here trying to do something with Jai Opetaia and Alexander Usyk? That is a left field punch.
Oh, that's it. And we said it first here, because I've been saying on my podcast, and you're right, I'm behind the times, and I bow to your take on this, sir. The thing is that I've been saying, well, that Deontay Wilder fight, competition winner, all of that, so excited, suddenly went away. And no one said an effing word about it, including TalkSport, Gareth Davis and Spencer Oliver talked about it this morning and said, oh, it's come out of left field, the Derek Chisora and Deontay Wilder. Yeah, has it ever? And Deontay Wilder has not said, well, I'm really disappointed, mate, which generally you would get in boxing. Everyone's silent about it. And I thought, well, it's cleared the way to have his I fight you for the WBC. You can choose, and it'll be Tyson Fury. So I think there's a little bit of that. But I think your take might be even better.
Think about that. The way that everybody thought this Zuffa stuff was going to go, Dana came out and did it completely differently. Everybody thought that, like, Ocampos was going to be the guy to really set up Callum Walsh, knock him out in the first or second, because Ocampos that's happened to him in the past. But at the end of the day, they're putting on a TV product. They're putting something out there for the TV. So the fact that he took him the distance and did what he did, he's completely comfortable the entire time. That leads me to believe that this isn't just about boxing end of it. This is about something new. Dana's been talking about this. This has been the words the entire time. New, different, going to put it on its ear, going to make people go, whoa, we didn't think that this was possible. And a fight like that, holy shit, because Opataya has been one of these fighters that people know about if you're into boxing, but nobody knows about it because his fights are at 6:30 in the morning on a Tuesday because he fights in Australia, right? But everybody knows about this thing. And now if you can get him onto a fight, you get him in March, you get him set up, and he cracks somebody because, like we've said before, his recent fights before have been broken jaw, broken neck. This is what he's done to his opponents. There's a story when they start putting this kind of footage together and all of this stuff together. They're going to really bump this guy up. And now, if you say that you're in talks with the greatest living heavyweight / cruiserweight of all time right now, holy shit, Dana White would have everybody going, well, I guess we were completely wrong, but not us, because we're calling it here first.
Yes, and it's a fantastic take. Whether or not, that works, absolutely. Well, let's separate. The thing is that it's a great take, and I think you're right. I still have a little bit in my aged brain which says Tyson Fury because it's good money, but Dana White might be saying, this is better. This is better. And you're right. Usyk hasn't got long to go. He's got probably three, he said, 3 fights. So he could have one and then another one later in the year. And that could, he might just have the 2 and say, that's it, done. Opataya's the man. Whether Opataya can actually segue from cruiser to heavy, and they'll want him to, I really don't know. And we haven't seen it yet because he's not really fought anybody, and that's not his fault. He wants to fight people who can give him a fight, but he's not really fought anybody who can do that so much yet. Interesting. But that would be a separate special event, wouldn't it? I'm just going to ask you now.
Yeah, that would be a big house event, right?
Yeah. But let me ask you this, though. How many people, and I don't know whether we'll get the figures. I don't know whether they'll release the figures. They'll have to, won't they? So I don't know how many people will return for the next show. Charles Martin, Affair Jagba. I don't know how much those figures will be down from this episode. I suspect they will, and I suspect you need to spike it by saying Jai's here on the March one, so come back for the third one, folks.
100%. 100%. It's pro wrestling. It's smart pro wrestling booking in the sense for them for TV because they didn't have to do anything for the first one. They had Callum Walsh. That's their baby. He comes out there for the first one. They've made some announcements. Now they've come back for the second one. The second one you're looking at and you're like, well, I don't know, maybe. And now they'll go into the promotional motions where they'll start to be like, no, you're going to want to check out the second one because we're talking about the third one. We're talking about the fourth one. We're talking about the fifth one. And they're going to start to do this because this is what they do best. This is what the combination of UFC and WWE and the parties in behind it, this is what they do best. We saw Mr. Khan sitting ringside at, the entire time for Zuffa Boxing. Why? Because there's invested interest. We saw the fact that not just Zuffa Boxing, but Zuffa Boxing, UFC, and WWE, which is all TKO and TKO, they're the ones, if you looked at the social media, all of them pumping each other's stuff constantly out there right now because they understand this new baby that is Zuffa Boxing, and they want to make this work tremendously because they need to show Paramount the return on the investment for the whole package. That's what it is.
Yes, and just what do you think? Because I can't quite work out whether they announced the first show and then thought, oh, fuck, we haven't done anything. And it turned out that way. Or did they think, okay, we haven't got to do anything because it's out first. And, you know, if it wasn't for Dana saying, hey, it's going to be great, then we're not like that. He doesn't do that. But, you know, making those kind of pronouncements,
Sure.
It wasn't for that. We might have thought, oh, well, I didn't expect anything. So did they not? Do you think they didn't have to do anything?
I don't think they did. I don't think they did. I think that because of idiots like us and other shows like us that are out there, we put it over so much that they were like, no, everybody's going to have so many different takes and everybody's going to have so many different ideas of what we're going to do. We just need to go out there and just do what we do. And that's exactly what they did. I do like the fact that they made the arena look completely different while still keeping it kind of the same, you know, for the branding of what it is that they're doing there. Right. So, yeah.
It did look a bit small hall, and that's, you know, I thought it's small hall, but actually that does feed into this. However, I have to say, you're one of the only voices I have heard saying, actually, I see what they're doing here. Most people have, you know, are not so intelligent like me and have said, well, that's terrible. I expected pyro. So I'm just wondering whether in the days to come, people are going to be thinking about this. Maybe it's what they needed to do rather than bring out a big celebrity.
Well, if they would have come out with all the pyro, fucking, you know, mandolins and elephants and a marching band and, you know, clowns and jugglers and all of this kind of, you know, hoopla, right? And just made it a regular old hootenanny out there. Then what do you do? Then what do you do for that second one? What do you do for that third one? How do you come back with more of that? So they've done a good job of being able to be like, no, you've seen it. You see the bare bones. And we've even been so kind and so humble and gracious to say to you, hey, it's a work in progress, man. We're here for you. You're here for us. We're going to be listening to you. What do you get? You know what I mean? This is kind of the messaging that they're going with this, and it's going to endear them just enough to make all of those, you know, oh, why is everybody hating on Dana in this boxing? This is what's going to happen. You know, all of those other people like stupid old guard doesn't want to let the new stuff come in, blah, blah, blah. You know, this is what it's going to create. We're creating narratives. Dana's got this new batch of friends that's really good at creating narratives in the United States of America. I don't know if you noticed this or not on the other side of the pond, but his friend pool, they do a really good job of narratives. Yeah,
you're quite right. And part of that narrative is because of all the Zuffa branding and all of that. I did call it on a podcast earlier, Duffa Boxing, but I think I'll stop doing that. Although it was incredibly clever of me. All the kind of branding, Callum Walsh didn't have to do that, but everybody else with all the branding. I suspect, what do you think of this? All those people with big personalities, I'm talking about Conor Benn. I'm talking with Eddie Hearn. I'm talking about Ryan Garcia, who made himself look such a fool on the Mario Barrios press conference by doing comedy bits. People like that, who've got a big personality, that don't fit with Zuffa. Am I right?
I think what they're looking for right now is they're looking for guys that want to fight and then let the character come out of the fighter. Much like they did with like the Ultimate Fighter shows and stuff like that. I think that you will have people that they're like, yeah, we understand this is just who he is. But a lot of time, a lot of those shticky guys that are out there right now, those characters that are out there aren't necessarily what they're looking for. Conor Benn could be a guy that they're looking for, I think. Ryan Garcia, not so much. I think Ryan Garcia is going to end up having to be the saving grace for MVP boxing. I think that that's something that's going to have to be negotiated where they bring in another guy for something like that. Conor Benn, I could see being a Zuffa guy. Ryan Rozicki, I could see being a Zuffa guy because these guys are characters, but at the same time, they're here to fight. And that's really what Zuffa wants to do with this. You can see is they want to put on guys, because you didn't know who a lot of these fighters were, but those fights were decent on the undercard, on the other all of the other fights, even the main event. You know what I mean? If you're not looking for quick little knockouts, you're looking for good wars, good scraps back and forth, because here's been my complaint. And the complaint a lot of times with boxing is the fact that you see how the betting lines are, and you have like a minus 3,000 to a plus 480. Where's the competition in that? And then you see a complete blowout in it. Where's the competition in that? That's the gap that I'm hoping that Zuffa kind of tightens up a little bit with this. That's what I really want to see.
Yes, and I mean, the main event, Callum Walsh versus Carlos Ocampo, did not go the way that I think they wanted it to go. A bit like Andy Cruz fighting this weekend didn't go the way they wanted. You know, he's a great amateur. Yeah, this is the professional ranks, Andy. So, you know, he outfought you because he was smart in a professional boxing way. And I think that probably Dana White might have liked, although I don't know. I mean, I suppose if there had been a big blow knockout for Callum Walsh, that would have been marvellous because of the matches that had gone before, the fights that had gone before. But that didn't happen. It was quite pedestrian if you weren't a boxing fan.
Right.
You know, the Rodriguez versus Sandoval fight a bit earlier was much more. I mean, that had real attack and nastiness and sharpness, and I didn't think the main event quite did. But if we are following this is about boxing as a sport, folks, then it really, I suppose, it introduced Callum Walsh to us, and that's about all that we can hope for.
100%. 100%. Listen, at the end of the day, I am here to I'm fully invested to see what Zuffa Boxing can do with this. They've got the money, they've got the ability. Now, most importantly, they've got my attention. And that's kind of where we're at. Steve, always a pleasure. I notice you doing even more so over this rambling reviews. Still very got on the ball.
Well, loads of boxing, as you might expect. I'm quite on the comeback for Tyson Fury at the moment because I don't think there's a plan B. And I think he's going to have to work his way up. And I don't think that gentleman wants that. So I'm having quite a lot of fun with that. There is, I went to see Orianthi last night, who's, of course, you know, she's a big radio rock star, really. But there was a guy supporting her who I thought had more of a go, actually. And I can't. What's his first name? His surname's Bruner. What's his first name? Anyway, he's got an EP out called Other Side. It's called Jonathan Bruner. Anyway, that's terrible on me, isn't it? But it's hard and really. I mean, those solos, guitar solos in there, are a bit. Well, I've not heard this for quite some time. They're unbridled. So it's only 5 tracks, but it does not give it a go. And I shall be reviewing that this evening, and lots more.
Does he have a message? Because we know in this day and age that, like, you know, music, the way that it's put out there, it's got to be a certain message along with it. And we all remember what the greatest message of all time is, right?
Come to the children. Wu-Tang is for the children. We teach the children.
I mean, it's the greatest message of all time, Steve. The only other thing that you got to remember to do, no matter what, tuck your
Wrestling, rock, pop, books, films, TV, boxing. All of this is covered on Steve Swift's Rambling Reviews. I am he, Steve Swift, a UK guy. What you get is all of that, and a funny voice, and even a funnier face. See? Steve Swift's Rambling Reviews. Come to me. I've got a review.
just for you.
Ta-ta.